If she had only been ugly.
Welcome to Live from the Laugh Factory, starring Tom Irrera. Starring in I got a show.
Yeah.
How do you get a podcast in this town? I know a comedian that doesn't have a podcast. It's incredible.
Who? No, really?
I'm sad. I don't even want to name his
Don't
name.
want to name names?
You don't have a podcast.
No, I can
Josh
tell.
Wolf sitting here with me.
Hi.
Welcome, Josh.
How are you?
Good to see you.
Are these? Now, did you bring these chairs yourself?
These
or
are my chairs that I travel around with in
Is that part of your rider?
my carnival. Yeah, it's part of my rider. I don't even know what is this, Edwardian? What kind of chairs are
I
these?
don't know. It's very regal though. I feel kind of like this
I
is the
know.
king and queen chair, but I think you have the king because the king has cushions, and I have the queen because you know it's like a boy's bike
You know,
and
I
a
never
girl's
noticed
bike.
that. So you're an observational comedian.
No.
Oh, you observed that? I never observed it. I do more characters. I don't do jokes. Somebody told me that once. They go, because I don't know how to write a joke, right? I don't know if you're good at writing jokes
No.
or not, but I'm not. And this girl said to me at the comedy store, she goes, I said, oh, where do you do comedy? She goes, well, I do alternative comedy. I don't do jokes like you guys. I go, fuck, I don't even know how to write a joke.
No. I think that's one of the reasons, you know, in today's day and age, people who don't go out and see a lot of stand up, they judge comedians by how funny they are on Twitter. And
Yeah.
I'm not a good 140 character joke writer.
Right.
I'm just not. I'm more of a storyteller. So people will tell me all the time, "Oh, I didn't think you were funny because of Twitter." I'm like, "Well, I'm not that Twitter. I'm not. I'm just not that
Yeah.
Twitter funny. I don't write those jokes that well."
Do you have a good Twitter following?
Pretty good. I mean, pretty good. Yeah.
I wrote one. I hardly ever like anything I write. I don't like my act. I'm not a fan of myself, but I'm not my cup of tea. But I did write one. I swear to God. But I did write one that, like, I remember to tell you something David Tell told me. He goes, I'll tell you now. I said, Dave, because we were talking, and I said, I don't think you realize, after the show, he goes, I don't think you realize how strong you are as a comedian. He goes, I hate my act, Dom. He says, but more than anything, I hate myself. Like, topping it all.
But I think actually that permeates through his humor. Don't you think?
Yeah. That's self-loathing.
Yeah. I think it comes through so strong on all of his, and he's a phenomenal joke writer. He is.
He's so fucking funny. You know, one of my favorite jokes is by him. I'm afraid to travel because my parents used to beat me with a globe. So fucking stupid, but it's funny. Why is it funny?
It's funny, but just the visual of getting beat with a globe is pretty ridiculous. It's one of my, Doug Stanhope has one of my favorite jokes. It's an old one for him, and he would probably hate the fact that I would bring it up, but it makes me laugh every time where he said, you know, I asked my girlfriend if I could titty fuck her, and she said, sure, but how are you going to make that feel good for me? And he said, right when I'm about to come, I'll stop punching you in the face.
That's nice.
And to me, that visual, like the globe, is so ridiculous, and you just don't see that coming at all.
You know what's funny about Doug? No, we have a history, you know, like a lot of us do.
Yeah.
And when people go, you go, he's a good guy or something, and somebody goes, he's a great guy. I'm thinking, Doug's not a great guy.
No.
And he knows he's not a great guy, and he prides himself on that. And I'm not even putting him down. I like the guy. Always did. I like his humor. He could be a little mean, but, you know, so what? But I'm thinking, he ain't a great guy.
He and I we had a long time ago, had a pretty, I won't mention who the person is, but there was a person that I was dating that he had sex with.
While you were dating her?
Yeah.
Oh, that's low.
And then he basically called me. He was like, hey, man, I called him. I go, what's the deal? He goes, yeah, that was my bad.
Oh, boy.
One of those. And I was like, that's it. So,
That's your apology? It was my bad?
Yeah.
Whoops.
Yeah, I slipped.
Well, I mean, I feel the same way about Tom Rhodes.
I don't know him personally.
I don't like Tom because he, you know, like he tried to hit on my girlfriend, and I was just downstairs at the hotel in Montreal, and I get up and he's trying to hit on her, and you know, she's saying she's with me, and I'm thinking, and they were saying he was high. I don't give a fuck. Everybody's high. It's something. That's no excuse.
Right.
And when are you going to buy that bullshit, you know?
I don't know him personally, Tom. I think he's funny. He makes me laugh.
Yeah, I can't see it now. anymore?
No. Can I ask you something? Because,
Yes, I was always funny.
Well, here's the thing. I told somebody I was doing this podcast, and they said he's a legend, and I was like, here's what I don't.
No, I'm not a legend.
Well, I think you're. Yes, I almost agreed with him, but to me, legend implies that you're done. But you're also not.
Thank you.
Still write new material.
I try.
Yeah.
Thanks. I mean,
but where does that? I'm dying to know.
Age, because age and certain accomplishments. But it's not. I'm not a legend. Rodney Dangerfield's a legend.
Yep.
Even Robin Williams, whether you like his stand-up or not, is a legend. I think he's Robin Williams, but especially Rodney, especially guys like that have died and just left a legacy that's incredible. But I am nowhere near a legend. I have won awards and all that bullshit. By the way, I talk about David Tell. We were up for Comedian of the Year, and that year they cut it just to 3 people, and it was Louis Black, Dave, and myself. And Louis basically, and no, nothing wrong with it. He's our friend, but he ran for it like a political office. Honestly, I mean, Carrot Top did the same thing. A lot of guys did to win it. And, he was on Howard Stern. He couldn't help it in a way because he had such great publicity. So we knew he was going to win. And I was hosting a show for Comedy Central, and this is how funny fucking Attell is. And I said to Louis, I said, what's it feel like to know you're going to win? And he goes, well, and he's with his mom and dad, and he's, he knew he was, but he couldn't really answer it right. And Attell comes up, and he goes, well, I got this thing in a bag. He goes, I just fired my agent. I bought a house in Malibu. First of all, the award meant nothing anyway, but he's acting like it was a foregone conclusion. He had me fucking crying, laughing.
But why I would say, look, it seems like when you say Rodney and Robin, that you are judging like on a certain level of success that the country knows, but amongst comics, doesn't that matter?
Well, it matters.
How high you're held.
Yeah, but I just wouldn't use the word legend. I would say respected. And Chris D'Elia said the nicest thing he could say to me. He said, what's interesting about you is I never think of you as older than us. And he's talking about his contemporaries,
right.
30s, that era. He goes, I never think of you as older than us. I just think of you as one of us. And that's the nicest thing you could say to me, But that's
what I mean by not calling you a legend because you're not done. You're not done. You're not done, and that's what amazes me because I've seen you here a bunch of times. I'm like, well, that's new material. Like, so for me, even I go, I don't want to fucking write any new material.
I don't.
Right?
Can I tell you something coming from a legend?
Yeah.
It don't get easier.
It doesn't.
No. There's no tricks to it. Maybe there's a formula to writing jokes that I don't know. I know Rita Rudner knew it. Do you remember her?
Yeah.
And Rita once said to me, a reporter, we were in Midland, Texas, doing a gig, the two of us, and she said, they said something about being funny. She goes, I don't know about being funny. She goes, I'm a technician. Dom's funny. Ask him. I'm a technician. And in a way, I was understanding because basically how I took it was not so much of a compliment or an insult. Reality was, I can't write those jokes. Her jokes are fucking perfect.
Yeah.
But
that's what we're saying. I mean, and that's interesting. Like, for me, when you look at different people's style, if you wrote my act down on a piece of paper, you could probably pick out some of the places where there's going to get laughs.
Yeah.
But I think you would be surprised at some places that get laughs.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's not a punchline.
Right.
It's maybe my attitude or
of course.
Right.
Yeah, otherwise, that's what makes you and successful because you have your own point of view and you're, if anybody could just do your jokes. I know people steal from each other, but they really can't take your essence. But,
yeah.
By the way, we do have a problem around here with one of the comedians thinking another one stole his essence.
Here at the Loud
I'll tell you off the air.
Okay.
That's pretty funny.
I have a guess, but we'll talk about it off the air.
Yeah, there's no need to start.
No.
I mean, I don't mind busting balls, but I don't want to instigate trouble and
Do you when you do like when you are writing new material, and it just really happened for me maybe 5 years ago, where you can write something or come up with a premise that you start to realize what you say funny. Does that make sense? Or how, like I've written things and been like, oh, that's funny. I could never tell that.
Yeah.
So I give it to somebody else. Do you know when you start to figure out your cadence and like what you will say funny? Do you know when that clicked for you?
Yeah, I know I know the joke that it clicked for me.
Really?
Yeah, because I realized I came out of improv, right? That's where my background. I was theater and then improv, and really a lot of improv, like where, a big time group in New York, really very good group. And I couldn't, I just couldn't believe comedians said the same thing all the time. But I didn't know how to write jokes, as I said many times already. But I knew how to write rhythm, and I got it in a joke about Ed McMahon, because the joke was I did Star Search, and I met Ed McMahon, and talk about a legend. I go, what do I say to him? He's been in the business 35 years. What do I call him? Do I call him Ed? Do I call him Mr. Ed? Do I call him Mr. Edward McMahon, Mr. E, Mr. Eddie McMahon, Mr. You big fat lucky talentless hump, kissing Johnny's ass for the last 30 years,
right.
You Budweiser sucking, Alpo slinging nothing. What do you do? Right? Now that was the joke basically.
Right.
But it's not really a joke. It's rhythm. It's cadence. So that's what I find that I write better is rhythm. Cadence of
Well, I noticed that from the times that I've watched you, it is a lot of. I heard Don Rickles say something really interesting once about rhythm and cadence. Is that when he was really doing his thing in Vegas, that he would get the audience, on such a rhythm that because his jokes are very rhythmic, right?
Yeah.
That the audience would start to laugh a little bit before the punchline because he'd almost trained them when it was coming.
Right. And one thing that's cool is when you get to a point where the audience is anticipating you being funny, as opposed to seeing if you're funny.
It's a huge difference.
Yeah, that makes stand-up easier,
That's just only recently started happening for me.
Well, that's cool. Now the notoriety of that show of Chelsea helps you, and you were telling me you have a show on Discovery.
On Discovery, it's called Naked After Dark. It's like the after show for Naked and Afraid.
Right.
And Naked and Afraid is that show where they take two strangers.
Yeah, that's terrifying to me.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
And they drop them off naked.
I'd be afraid I'd be hard all the time.
Well, that's one of the questions I asked.
Really?
I asked the guy, I'm like, so she walks up to you, she's good looking. How do you not get a
They
boner?
don't have anything on their feet?
Nothing.
In the jungle?
Do you know, I did a spoof for that show where we did Naked and Afraid in New York. I was not scared to be naked in New York. I was scared to be fucking barefoot in New York.
Yeah. Oh.
I was barefoot in New York for 8 hours.
Oh, that's horrible.
Times Square.
I wouldn't be barefoot in my house in New York.
I scrubbed my feet down. Oh, you have no idea.
Do you know who Jim Lampley is?
Yes.
I saw him one time take his shoes and socks off. We were in first class coming back from Philly.
not okay.
I think he must have announced a fight or something in Atlantic City. And he took and he went into the bathroom with that sticky fucking piss-filled.
The airplane bathroom?
Yeah. He went into the bathroom barefoot. I'll never look at him the same.
No. First of all, anybody who takes, I fly a lot, you fly a lot. People are getting way too fucking comfortable on airplanes.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, if you're going to take your shoes off, okay.
Yeah, don't take your socks off.
I was flying back from New York to here, okay? Dude was in the aisle across from me. I always take window seats so I can go to sleep. But he was in the same row, but in the aisle across. He was clipping his toenails.
Oh, jeez.
Clipping his fucking toenails.
That's unbelievable.
The balls.
Who
the balls? Can you?
But who would think that that's okay?
Nobody. But I would accept that.
Should I clip my toenails before or after lunch?
Who clips their toenails in front of other people you don't know? I don't clip my toenails in front of my wife. Like, she doesn't want to see that shit, right? But in front of a group of people that you don't know. But the barefoot in the bathroom, because I generally...
because it's always sticky because
people pee. You hit turbulence, there's pee all over the place.
Yeah,
it's not... But Lampley, I heard, is drunk half the time anyway, so...
I don't know. But he did it gradually. What he did was he took his shoes off. There was a woman sleeping, really out. She must have been like from a European flight or something. But she was out. And he put his foot up. He had these multicolored socks on. No, first he put his foot up with the shoe, and then the socks, and then he took the socks off.
It
was like a very sexy foot fetish striptease.
Not okay. It's not. I think that people need to go back. First of all, the plane is not the place for you and I to become friends. There's no reason
No.
for you to sit down next to me. And we're never going to see each other once we leave this
Yeah.
plane. I'm on the plane. I'm going to take a short flight, especially if I have my headphones on. And so I'll go headphones and hoodie because I don't want to be rude and say, hey, I just don't want to, I'm trying to send a point across. But people will always talk to you.
Well, I put those head things on. Do
Yeah.
you?
The headphones?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Bose, Boise,
Yeah,
Bose.
the
Yeah. I have kidded with people, though, because I don't like to talk on planes. Like, there was this really hot chick I was sitting next to not long ago, and I said to her, look, I got to tell you, I want to tell you my whole life story, but we only got like 5 hours, so I'm going to start now before they even close the door. And she laughed, and I said, I don't talk, don't worry.
Yeah.
And that was the end of it. And we just, excuse me when you get up. And
I've never, ever in my life sat next to a hot woman on a plane.
oh, I have. Yeah, I've been lucky a couple
Never.
times. I got a girl jerking me off.
What?
On a flight from Australia. She was licking my nipple and jerking me off. And she didn't
That
want
must be
anything to
first
do-
class, right?
It was business.
It was all
First
business.
class, I'd have fucked her in the ass.
Wait, so this must have been like during the nighttime portion of the show?
During the nighttime portion of the flight.
Of the flight, yeah. Well, it's a show. I'm
it is a
assuming.
show.
Yeah.
It's a good Freudian
Yeah.
slip. Yeah, it was dark out.
But nobody walked by because you got your nipple out.
No, she was just like going where she was under the blanket.
Uh-huh.
You know, I wasn't. She just started. That was just her creativity.
Okay, I got one more question
Go ahead.
that I'm very
Yeah.
now.
Twice.
Okay, but where do you put it? Is it on you?
Well,
On the blanket? Because other people
No,
use that fucking
no,
blanket, Dom.
it was on me. And
See, I can't sit in my own stuff.
no, well, what am I going to do? Tell her to swallow it?
I just talked
She
to a
wasn't
friend.
blowing me. She was just jerking me off.
Maybe she could angle it. I mean,
She
they
could
do have
angle
those.
it.
Yeah, they
Shoot
do,
her in the aisle.
in the aisle.
Then
And
the
they
guy
do
with
have-
barefoot would walk
and then
into the
Lampley
bed.
would be like, and that would be a great story.
That's
I
a
came
great-
on Jim Lampley's foot would be a great.
How I came to come on Jim Lampley's foot.
I have never come close to having sex on a plane.
Oh, I've had sex. This one girl used to blow me all the time. Well, actually,
Did she travel with you all the
yeah,
time?
yeah. Oh, yeah, it wasn't a stranger. And she blew me one time that we came out. It took a while. And it was
In the bathroom?
Yeah,
Okay.
and it was a pretty big, wide body, and we got an applause when we came out. The flight attendants, I guess some of them had recognized me or something, and they thought it was hilarious. I got to tell you one story about sitting next to somebody on the plane. I was sitting next to Oliver Stone. We didn't talk at all, but a couple of flight attendants recognized me, and they came up and, do you ever get people do your bits to you?
Yes.
All right, so they came up and they were doing a couple things, but he didn't know what was going on. And finally, after a lot of a lot of attention, pretty much amount of attention, he says to me, "We're in California by now. I'm coming from New York," and he goes, "Who are you?" And I said, "I was flight attendant in a year." I said, "You should see the parking space I get. It's right next to the jetway." And he went, "Oh," and that was it. We never talked.
didn't.
Huh? Well, because the last thing I was going to do is tell him I'm a comedian
Yeah.
that he never heard of. If he's asking me who I am, obviously he doesn't know
Yeah.
me, and I don't want to get into that conversation.
I do that all the people because Chelsea's a very specific show, right? So it's got its definite demographic, but there are a lot of people who have no fucking idea who I am. So in an airport, someone will take a picture with me, and I do the same kind of stuff. If somebody walks up and has to say, "I don't know who are you?"
Are you famous?
Yeah, I'm always like,
well, if you're asking me if I'm famous, I'm
then
not
no,
that famous.
Yeah, if you have to ask that question, then I might as well have
Yeah.
served you coffee this
I
morning.
heard you like a big deal. You know what one kid said to me one time? These kids, my friends' kids, I would let them come over to where I had a swimming pool at this motel, really nice motel in Wildwood, New Jersey. There aren't that many of them. And the kids had the key to my room in case they wanted to get changed or whatever. Yeah, they were like nephews and nieces to me. And this one little girl, they woke me up, and she said to me, "Are you a movie star?" I go, "No, hon, I'm not a movie star." She goes, "Well, John told me you're a movie star." I go, "Let me tell you something. When you're a movie star, you know it. I
Yeah.
can't be like, maybe I'm a movie star, but I don't know it." I says, "I'm in a cartoon called Hey Arnold." "You're in Hey Arnold?" That was like bigger than being a movie star.
That was my son's favorite cartoon. Hey,
How old's your boy?
17.
Yeah, that'd be the right age because right around he'd be young. He'd be on scaling.
He was in the young, yeah.
Because my nephew and his friends, my nephew's 20, 21, around that age, they fucking loved that show.
Tell you what, it was a good.
Oh, it was fun.
It was a good cartoon.
You know who the grandfather was that I worked with? Dan Castellaneta.
Is that right?
Homer Simpson, yeah.
That was a really good one. That actually was.
I thought it was terrific.
But it was good. Like as an adult, I could actually watch that.
Yeah,
show.
it had good morals to
Yeah.
it, but it was funny and.
Oh, you know who I sat next to on a plane, by the way? My favorite. He did not blow me or give me a hand job. Goose Gossage.
Oh, really? The Goose?
I'm a huge sports guy.
Uh-huh.
That to me was as good as a hand job. Well, not as good, but a pretty close second. But for me to be able to pick the brain of somebody like that, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, and he wanted to talk?
he did because he wanted to talk about steroids and the guys in sports today,
yeah.
and those fucking guys can't throw like I threw. And
Wow.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
so
yeah.
he was opening up.
oh yeah. Because
Yeah.
I think some of those guys are a little. I think some of those guys maybe are a little upset that these people are being
Well, yeah,
touted
I, mean,
as.
I always felt that was Barry Bonds' thing about looking at McGuire and
I agree.
Sosa and going, fuck this, I'm better than them now. Wait till you see if I take steroids.
I saw him last year at a charity event. He was maybe 15 pounds heavier than me. Regular size head.
Wow, yeah.
Tiny.
His head got bigger. Whose head gets bigger at 37?
Nobody's. No, your
Yeah.
head's not supposed to grow like that.
Yeah, we were talking about sports, and the most overhyped, overrated team in sports to me is the Cowboys.
Yes.
And I don't hate the Cowboys. Like I'm from Philly, I'm supposed to hate them. I don't hate them. The star sucks me in a little too. But the team that I think is the biggest bullshit team of all is the Boston Red Sox.
You know that's where I'm from.
I'm kidding you. Okay.
Oh, we were about. It was about to drop the mic, and we were gonna go. No,
We were
what?
going. If you can't beat me, you're in trouble. No. It's just, Colleen McGar.
Yeah.
Colleen said, I was talking about you to her that you were going to be on. He goes, Colleen says, he's a big Red Sox fan. And I go, I'll set him up. I actually, let me tell you, I actually like the Red Sox and the Yankees, and I was because of the way they play. I mean,
Yeah.
usually last year, the Yankees weren't good, but generally they're really fun to watch.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I'm from Philly, so we've been up and down a lot, and I was Lauren and Wally.
Lauren,
The radio show in
No.
Boston. It's a sports radio show in Boston, and they said to me, "This is before the Red Sox had won of the World Series.
Yeah,
It hadn't been
2004,
yeah. And I said, "Who are you rooting for? Who do you like? Who's your favorite baseball teams?" I said, "Well, the American League, I like the Yankees and the Red Sox." They go, "You can't like both." I go, "I can do whatever the fuck I want. Who's going to stop me? I like to watch. But if those teams are playing, that's who I watch."
Right.
And he says, they said, "Well, who are you rooting for this year?" I said, "I'm rooting for the Red Sox because I want them to win one." And then after that, I flip a coin. I mean, I like Derek Jeter a lot, but I enjoyed, I really used to enjoy Manny
Ramirez.
and
He's
that
kooky.
broke my heart that he was stern, that he was roiding up.
Did it really, even at that point in time, when you almost have to expect everybody?
No, but you know why? I'll tell you why. Because he was fat looking.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, here's a regular fucking guy, just a big, fat, talented guy with great hand-eye coordination that's doing it without steroids, and he gets caught. And that was like, I was fucking really disappointed.
But that's because I don't think that person exists anymore.
How about Ortiz? You think he does them?
Here's what I will say, and I don't think he does. Look. Maybe I'm naive, right? Maybe I'm naive
No, I'm not sure he does.
because I look at his body type. He doesn't look like.
he looks
right?
like a big burly guy.
Yeah.
Who was always built like that. Not like Barry Bonds, who was very, very kind of thin.
And Rodriguez, who went from a skinny dude to just this massive.
Oh, he's such a fucking liar. I mean, just tell the truth.
I know. He that's one of the
So
things. I
full
think,
of shit.
You know what I love about this country is that you could almost do anything, and if you come clean,
Yeah.
eventually people here will be like, you know what? Let's give him a second chance.
Right.
It's guys like that who never get a second chance because you are trying to lie to a country when everybody knows the truth.
Clemens.
Yes, same thing.
Clemens
Bonds.
and Bonds, and they were two of the worst. I mean, and one of the things that changed me about sports in general was, and this is when I became more of a free agent, when I saw Clemens in a Yankee uniform, after watching them all those years in a Red Sox uniform, I thought to myself, why do I have to be loyal if they're not?
I said the same thing.
Really?
I said the same thing, except I didn't say it. It was almost the opposite. I now have no loyalty to the players. I only have loyalty to the team, right? So for me, my loyalty goes with the Red Sox. So if Clemens leaves the Red Sox, I don't I boo him because you know what? I boo him like any other Yankee or any other. Well, I'm loyal to the B.
I've been up and down on that because I had a show at the NFL on Comedy Central for a few years. And I met a lot of players. And I would end up rooting for the players who were nice to me, just like any human being, you know. So then I didn't care as much about what colors they were wearing, you know.
It's interesting, you know, you grew up in Philly. Because I would say Philly, New York, Boston, the fans there have such horrible reputations.
Yeah.
But I will also say, in Philly and Boston, to me, are the two most. When you walk around downtown Philly, what do you think? Every 3 or 4 people, every third or fourth person at least, has either a Phillies, Eagles, Sixers, Flyers,
totally.
Flyers especially. Flyers stuff everywhere, right?
Yeah.
But same with Boston. Sports are so ingrained into the essence of those cities.
Well, the Flyers in particular, because it's a very racially divided city.
Philly is?
Oh, yeah. So the Flyers are a white team.
Yes.
But because it's a sports team, the people still let the racial thing slide on that. But the Flyers are more popular in some ways. But I don't think there's anything more popular than the Eagles in Philly.
You know, I would say for Boston, it's definitely a Red Sox town. Yeah,
and which is interesting because their football team, their basketball team, it will never be tied.
No,
it will never be equaled.
You know what I find interesting though? You know, like when you talk to Yankees fans, right? And if you say the Yankees suck this year, they go 27 champions, whatever that, 26, and. Look, dinosaurs used to walk the earth too, right? But we're not talking about how a dinosaur could beat up a dog because you know what?
God, you're bitter.
But my point was, you never hear a Celtics fan go, "You're 17 champion," because it was eons ago. Who cares?
You know, it's interesting. Yeah.
And I am bitter.
Well, I think sometimes, you know, when you start winning, it takes away your ability to bitch. And one of the things that brought everybody together, like if the Cubs win, suppose the Cubs win 5 World Series in a row, which is not going to happen.
Ever.
But, you know, it would change the whole, that fiercely loyal Cubs fan.
Yeah.
I don't, I think I root for different things. Like, I like to see the Philly teams win because, like, I'm so magnanimous, but I like to see my family and friends happy.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck that much. You know, I used to do a joke about that, like when the Sixers... Remember how great? Isn't it so weird that the Celtics, Sixers, and Lakers are all bad this year?
Yeah, I know.
Celtic might be the best out of the 3, actually.
Which is sad.
Yeah.
Which is really sad. They were the tent pole of the NBA. The 3 of them, like up, was that 80s? Is that?
Yeah, all through the 80s.
Yeah.
From I think 79. I think Seattle won in 79. I think, but after right about that time, 80, the Lakers won because that was the year that Magic had 42 points as a rookie.
Played center.
Point center.
Yeah.
Yeah. And but I used to hate the Celtics because they beat us all the time. You know? Like when I was a kid. It's like, and so that's why I rooted for the Lakers because they finally beat the Celtics. But it took them a while, you know. But now, then I go to Boston and I see all these people and I like them, and Lenny Clark and Leary and all these guys, and I'm thinking, and I'm on the floor at Knicks. You ever work Knicks?
Yes.
And they have a big TV screen, and I see Magic Johnson make his junior hook and win that game over McHale. All right, and I thought to myself, and I was the only one rooting for the Lakers, and I thought to myself, and this is when I learned a little bit about hate. I thought, what do I hate? I love these people. What the fuck do I hate? They're the same as where I came from.
Yeah.
They were just winning.
Yeah.
I was bitter because they were winning all the time.
Have you seen Lenny lately?
Yeah.
He is jacked. He is. I saw him. I go, Lenny, what happened to your arms? He went through.
He is unbelievable. First of all, thank God
he's jacked.
Well, he
went through a sweatpants stage where I was like, how many years in a row did you wear sweatpants?
Oh yeah, because he couldn't. The stretchy boy special.
Yeah, he told me he wore sweatpants. I think he said for 5 years in a row. He basically wore
was
sweatpants.
Gigantic. It's amazing.
Massive,
Imagine
right?
what that fucking heart has been through
between the drugs and the weight.
Yeah, I mean he had.
It's like my friend Joey Diaz.
Joey Diaz?
You know Joey Diaz?
I really don't like Joey Diaz.
Come on.
Of course. Who
doesn't like Joey Diaz?
I don't know. I love the fucking guy.
Yeah.
No, he's been on the show.
He's the best.
He calls me Dom Irrera, my whole name. Dom Irrera.
Listen,
I love you. You know that. Dom Irrera.
he called me Josh Wolf since the day I met
him.
Did he? He used to babysit my kids. When I was there with him one of the first times. When he used to get on stage.
I didn't know that he knew so much about sports.
Joey?
Yeah.
Well, Joey was a bookie.
Yeah.
He was a bookie.
But he knows basketball.
Yeah, he was a book. You know, Joey and I used to make... Okay. When I first met Joey, he was 205 pounds. He used to go on stage in a three-piece suit.
Uh-huh.
But, you know, he made his... he moved to Seattle. I hired him at a place I was working, and...
he moved to Seattle. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he and I basically started doing Seattle together.
I would have never put you two together.
Yeah, it's basically he lived in my back house, and he's a solid guy. I will tell you, when he is on a roll on stage, and there's some nights you never know what you're going to get with Joe because he's so spontaneous on stage, right? But when he's on a roll, he destroys places.
Oh yeah,
and he's one of those few guys. It brings up a question I want to ask you. He's one of those few guys, right? No matter what comes out of his mouth, you're not offended, right? It's weird that he's filthy.
Well, he's got that down. Yeah,
but
so likable.
Yeah, is that what it is? What is it you think? Where some people get that pass?
He's fucking real. You know, that's the thing. He's real, and you can feel his honesty.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know whether that excuses him or not, because I've been told that about me sometimes, whereas in the sense that I say certain shit that normal people would get mad at, but like there's some kind of factor that's factored in that they don't get offended. And Joe is an extreme example of that.
But you can't. That's not something you can teach, right? You're basically he said something.
It's a likability too,
and he's very likable. He calls himself Uncle Joey, But there was one night, I forget where we were. He and I used to travel together. He and I go way, way, way back. But he was, there were these two Chinese girls in the front row. And he's in the middle of his act and he stops. He goes, "Oh, look at you two. Gorgeous. Gina!" And then he goes, "You make me want to go home and play Karate Kid with myself." The place blows up. They laugh, right? Yeah. But there aren't too many people who could kind of get away with that. It's interesting. You are given a pass. Okay. When you first started to now, how do you think comedy has changed? I know funny is funny, right?
But I think I'm one of the guys that really actually thinks the comedians are better today. You know, I think.
Why do you say that?
I think it's evolved, you know, and I think it's become more story oriented and less bullshit.
I agree with that.
Like more like. My generation in the early '80s was coming off of the generation of a funny thing happened to me today. I was at the airport, and it didn't happen, and and I mean we have to fabricate some things like with time, especially to compromise that everything didn't happen on one flight, or whatever it is. And
sometimes you combine stories into a story.
But I think like the group of comedians in your generation. You've had the advantage to watch people's mistakes and good things and learn from that. And I think, I think there's a particularly good group around your age right now. And I'm not saying that to pander to you or your but I mean like the group of Dub Davidoff and those guys that they're just fucking smart.
I will tell you that's one thing I do like. You know what? I like the story. I like. When you mentioned something about honesty about Joey, right? And it's something why I think podcasts are so popular. Joey's podcast, if you listen to it an hour and a half, maybe there's some funny in there, but people respond so much to honesty, right? So that's what I think a lot of the storytelling does. Is it's a different generation of people watching with reality TV and all that stuff. People respond, I think, a little bit more to the honesty.
Yeah,
to what you're
everything doesn't have to be rip roaring funny, but when I go on stage, I try and do as best as I try and be as funny as I can. Yeah. But I don't mind having a lull. I don't mind having to actually talking to them about something, and and sometimes you get something out of that.
I've experimented a little bit with that. I'm doing a lot of experimenting. I don't know. I still experiment a little bit almost every time I go on stage, and Sometimes it's not with language. Sometimes it's with pauses. I've really started to really, and you do this masterfully, use pauses to really help your jokes and just to show that you do. I used to be scared of the silence, but now if you're quiet for a second and the room stays quiet, that means they're still with you.
Yeah.
That pause can sometimes be very powerful.
And I love clubs more than theaters. I did a lot of theater, and you're separated, but I did theater like acting. But I had this argument with two of my more famous buddies, Tosh and Seinfeld, and they love theaters better.
How come?
Well, Jerry said, he goes, I don't understand why these people can't come and sit on their hands for an hour and listen to my bullshit, my little bullshit act.
Right.
I said, well, I don't want them sitting on their hands. I want them fucking having fun. I want them drinking and eating and laughing, me being part of their night, not every minute. I don't need,
Yeah.
And Daniel's one of those guys just that thought that you graduated to theaters. I've done both, and like I understand it. And he does the Mirage, which is a good place because it's a theater, but it's kind of funky in the sense of.
Do you like to interact with the crowd?
Only if it comes up, not as a plan. Not like if I.
Not a Charles Fleischer?
No, I never have like pat things to say.
Right.
And all. Like one night, and I said this before on this podcast, it's so much fun. Like there was these 4 incredible girls, very young, very beautiful. And I start talking to them. I go, where else in the world could I talk to the 4 of you? And I wouldn't get... And then you would actually like be laughing and responding. Like this is it's a false world.
Yeah.
It's not the real world. But
Yeah.
they're laughing and looking at me like I'm good looking. And I'm like thinking, I forget what I look like. That I don't have a...
But this stage or any stage, not just this stage, but really, if you're killing in a room, it makes you so much better looking.
Yeah.
It opens up the possibilities.
I have a friend named J.J. Wall, and he was a comedian and a writer, and his daughter came to see me in Cleveland, and she brought 2 girlfriends, and they were all beautiful girls, and her and I was going out with this one woman a little bit in Cleveland, a bartender at a pretty funky place. We went to have martinis there, me and the 2 girls, and we're just laughing, and everything's normal, and these are college girls. And me, and I look in the window, the reflection of my big fucking Guido head, and I'm thinking everything seems normal to me. I go, look at me, I'm hideous. These are fucking beautiful girls, and I'm acting like I'm one of them. Oh yeah, what gets me about old people?
Hilarious. The old people. It's funny, I remember when I was younger that I used to make, my dad and I together would say, something about old people or old people. You'd make a little whatever. And I remember the last time I said an old people, I was like some fucking old people, right? And he was like, we can't do that joke anymore. And I said, why not? He was like, I'm one of them. And I was like, oh, okay.
I know.
Okay, we won't do that joke anymore.
I was thinking of I'm going to Ireland, and I'm co-hosting the 25th anniversary. And
25th anniversary what?
Of the Kilkenny Festival. I think it's 25, maybe 20. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But what I was going to do is, get kind of sentimental and talk about retiring, and then say, in 25 years, I just thought it might be funny. Because I think at 25 years, how much more can I give? I mean, I'm not saying I'll quit. I'll taper off a little. I'll be fucking 90.
I don't think we ever quit. Isn't
that the great thing about stand-up? We talk about that. It always comes up on this show, how much fun and how lucky we are.
I have a friend of mine, and she's been very worried about her career and not on TV as much anymore. And I told her, you know what the beautiful thing is? They can never fire you from stand-up.
I've said that before.
Nobody can ever fire you from this job.
Yeah.
So
There's too many jobs to get fired from.
Yeah, you will always...
Can't get fired 500 times.
No. And you know what?
Unless you're Michael Richards.
But I'm sure there's still some B rooms in Indiana that will take...
Of course they will.
That's the thing. It may not be the same clubs all the time.
Yeah.
But nobody can ever fire you from this job, which is pretty amazing. And I will say something, the beautiful thing also about stand-up is that for me, even though it's basically the same, it's different every night. It's different every night. And I keep myself entertained by really trying that 20 minutes in the middle of my act. I really do make a concerted effort to try new stuff.
That's cool. Now, where are you going? I wonder if we work any of the same clubs. I'm working Stress Factory, and then Raleigh.
Oh, that Good Nights?
Yeah. You work that?
Good Nights is a good room.
Yeah.
Do you do the Comedy Zone of Charlotte?
No, I'd like to go back there because my family, I have some family that lives there.
It's great. I had to cancel, this month Columbus, which is good, that Funny Bone, which is a fun room.
Oh, I love Columbus.
But because of I'm hosting this show and it's on Sunday nights.
Oh.
I had to cancel out for the next 5 weeks. But then well,
they wouldn't let you miss Sundays?
It's not
that.
Oh,
you'd have to get here.
I need to look. The show is on Sunday, so I need to prepare a little on Saturday.
Right.
I have been lucky enough. Like I'm traveling a little with Chelsea. She's touring right now. I get to travel with Larry the Cable Guy. You know Dan Whitney?
Oh yeah, very well.
Okay, maybe one of the nicest guys in the world.
I love Dan.
And I learned so much from traveling with him about comedy. That dude is a comedy stud. I know people give him shit.
I got a great message from him and a couple guys just saying they loved me and they missed me. And him and two other guys, we used to hang in West Palm a lot.
Was it
Tom Ryan?
Yeah.
And Chris, the real straight-looking Republican guy.
Yeah, I don't know.
I can't remember his last name. Good guy.
But Dan, an amazing. People don't give him enough credit. We counted his punchlines one night.
Oh, he's unbelievable. 379
punchlines and he does. It's boom, boom,
oh, yeah.
boom, boom.
And he was always
boom.
funny. And I can tell you why I would be the worst manager in the world. I was working with him. This is when he started hitting it, and he was really strong. And he was going on in the middle. I go, Dan, I got to fucking really dig in to follow you now. But I wanted to tell him, as his friend, you got to lose the fucking Larry the Cable Guy character.
That would have been great.
Yeah, right. I meant it as a compliment because he's so fucking funny. But my God, that's like $1 billion later. What a mistake that would have been.
Do you know, it was interesting. He told me all about, I asked him, I'm very curious about people's paths, and because he's a different type of comic as I am. But I asked him, I go, so Dan, I think he called himself the Freight Train of Comedy, right? Dan, the Freight Train of Comedy, Dan Whitney. And he was rapid fire joke guy, right? Isn't that what he did?
He was so silly.
Right, and he does the same thing. Cable Guy is basically the same thing, except he's just slowed his cadence down a lot.
Right, and sometimes people get upset that he doesn't really talk like that. And I think that's a fun character. Let it go. If you're enjoying it, what the fuck? Does he have to really come from Appalachia?
I brought... I know a friend who was in Missouri. They were huge fans. So when I was traveling with him, brought him backstage, and I introduced him. It's my friend's father. Brought his father with him. So father, huge fan, right? So father comes up and goes, "Very nice to meet you, Mr. Cable Guy." And Dan, in basically the voice that I speak in, was like, "Hey, good to meet you too." And he said to Cable Guy, "Hey, why do you do the fake accent back here?"
Wow.
And he went, "What?" He goes, "No, but why are you doing a fake accent back here?"
That's funny.
And he was like, "No, this is the."
Oh no, that's not you.
But I want to ask, Cable Guy has gotten a lot of shit from comics, right? Why do you think that is?
Jealousy.
Just pure jealousy?
I think it's jealousy, and I think they think it's an easy way out. But to me, he's fucking funny.
Well, writing 379 punchlines is not an easy way out.
This is Dan Whitney or Larry the Cable Guy. This is why I love him, amongst many reasons. I'll tell you one off the air because I just don't want to start anything.
Yeah.
But I'm in Montreal, and I'm trying to write a joke. I said, Dan, do you think it's funny, like gang members when they get out of prison? To deter crime, they're only allowed to skip. You can't walk like regular guys. You're only going to skip. And then he starts skipping around. He goes, "Hey, you want a piece of this? You want a little action?" And he made the joke work,
Funny.
But he was so uninhibited. He's skipping around the bar. Nobody knows what the fuck he's doing.
Yeah.
He's just helping me write a joke.
But he doesn't get the credit, and I think you're right because, and he'll be the first one to tell you.
Remind me to tell you this story off.
Yeah, but he'll be the first one to tell you. Yeah, he's not afraid of a fart joke and all that. He's silly.
Oh yeah,
right.
But that's the way he is in real life.
100%. To me, he's very honest with his humor. And when people were like, "Well, he's doing easy jokes," you write 379 punchlines.
I can't.
No. And
because he can write jokes, brilliant ones.
Brilliant ones. And he was doing a new hour and a half of that every 18 months.
Wow.
For about
Does he have writers?
I don't know. I think maybe Kearns was helping for a little bit. You know Rick Kearns?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw him in Colorado last week.
Yeah. Kearns is an interesting.
Well, he was working with John Panette, I think, before.
Well, he also was writing for the puppet guy who sings in Vegas.
Oh, yeah, that guy.
Terry Fader. When that Comedy Works.
Why does he need a puppet? He's such a great fucking singer.
I haven't quite figured out.
Why would you make your puppet a better singer than you?
How good is that? That Comedy Works is one of my favorite clubs.
I have a joke about Jeff Dunham.
Yeah.
Because Jeff's got an attitude. And I said, you can't have an attitude and puppets. You can have an attitude or puppets. Mm-hmm. You can't be like fucking and then whip out a fucking puppet.
Yeah, because as soon as you think you're tough and you take out a puppet, that is fucking gone.
Oh, that puppet's a terrorist.
I'm fascinated by people who give Dan a hard time. Just like I worked with Foxworthy for a little bit. Fascinated by people who give him a hard time. I like Jeff. No, he's a great guy. Yeah.
I mean, I just like good people. I don't, there's only two comedians that I hate, and one that I don't like. Other than that, I pretty much like everybody.
To me, it's wasting time.
One thing about Chelsea is I'm sorry. Not because I'm not on her show or anything. I understand that. I understand the demographic and all. I don't take that personally. But I was with this crazy girl, but I was in love with her, And that weekend, and I felt like I didn't get to know Chelsea at all. And she was really drinking a lot, and I thought, this girl's really fun.
Were you on the road with her?
We were in Cobb's together. And it was before she hit, so she went on in the middle. And, man, I don't know how the fuck she stayed on 25, 30 minutes without peeing, because she was really putting them away.
She, I think when she went on the road, I think she used to drink a lot.
She was still good.
Yeah. But she's for me, a perfect example of, she told me once, because I stressed out a little bit about, I think we all do at some point in time, about somebody not liking my humor. Right? Where you're like, you almost take it personally. And
it is personal.
It is personal. But she said, if everybody likes you, you're doing something wrong.
Absolutely.
And that I really took to heart.
I felt that was Jay Leno's mistake as far as his respect in the comedy community, because Jay Leno, believe me, was an excellent comedian, and he still can be. But I think he wanted to be liked by all of America, and it just doesn't work that way.
No, it makes you very vanilla and bland. Yeah. And now, while at the same time, and social media has really allowed for people to be unnecessary assholes, right?
Yeah.
Because even if I don't like something, how much spare time do I have in my day where I'm going to look up online how I can contact the person I don't like to tell them I don't fucking like them? It's way too much time, right? But because of social media, I think that has become more of an issue now, because you're more hyper aware. If I tell a joke on Chelsea and it walks the line of offending some people and some people thinking it's funny, you're going to hear from those people that offended, and you may not hear from people that thought it was funny. Yeah. So it'll seem like it was not the right thing to say. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I think you just can't worry about it. I mean, I've had so many situations, like in my legendary career, if I may call myself a legend.
Not anymore, you can't. Not after this interview.
I'm done now. I was in Connecticut with Jonathan Katz.
Yeah.
And this woman, Adrienne Tolsch. She was an MC at Catch a Rising Star. Big deal to get on at that club. She got us on just because she liked us. And we're in Connecticut, right at Yale, doing a little club. And this woman comes up to me and she says, I find it very offensive that you talk about Italians that way. I said, well, I think I'm trying to be funny and, I am Italian. She goes, you're Italian? I go, yeah. She goes, oh, I thought you were Jewish. I said, no. She goes, oh, well, then that's okay.
And did you say, now I'm offended?
No, I just was stunned.
I am Jewish, and I made a Jewish joke on my show on Sunday Night on Discovery, and they pulled it.
Really?
Before it could, yeah.
What was the joke?
The joke was very I got to set up on Naked and Afraid on that show. They have something called a PSR rating, which is a primitive survival rating. So they basically give you what they think you rate, a number from 1 to 10.
You don't see their genitals, right?
No, it's blurred out.
Yeah.
But they give you a rating, 1 to 10, what they think you rate as a survivalist. So the people completed, and they get a 9.2. They give, it's one of those things where they take a picture and, they do the 360 of the picture and they talk about, his ability to hunt and build a raft out of sticks gives him a survival rating of whatever. So we did a fake one for me, which was, Josh's, whatever the joke was, Josh's, 3 older brothers beating him up, gave him a whatever, tolerance to pain, but his need for takeout, I forget what the joke was. But my survival rating wasn't a number, it was just Jewish. Right? So it's a joke on me too. And I'm Jewish.
Yeah.
And they pulled it.
Yeah, they get sensitive. And it's funny. My best crowd, like I did these 2 places in the Catskills, like years ago. Mm-hmm. But my best crowd were old Jews.
Really?
Yeah, and it's interesting. They like the white pants, Florida, the ones that go to Florida for, and I don't know, whatever it is. Like I was doing something for a charity called the Guardians, this Jewish thing to help out kids, and it was all Jewish men. And one of the things I said, because I knew that he'd laugh at it, I go, I can't say Jew without saying bastard at the end, and they fucking roared.
That's funny.
But I mean, I said I got to work on that. It's killing me in Hollywood, and they just, I knew they'd laugh.
I have to tell you, when I first got to town here, I couldn't get on stage here at the Comedy Store, the Improv. So I did all my rooms in East LA. I performed in front of a lot of Latino crowds and it went south a little bit in Inglewood in front of a lot of black crowds. I think that was the best thing
that's good for you
ever happened to me. One,
excuse me,
it showed me just that people actually do have a sense of humor about themselves.
Yeah,
they really do.
Well, I mean, and do you do all 3 clubs now?
Yeah.
What's great about that? To me, it's like this is a young audience. You skews younger. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking if these UCLA students laugh at my Goomba bullshit, it's really going to kill in Atlantic City. And the Improv is kind of like Hollywood hip, and the Comedy Store is very touristy. Mm-hmm. So within that couple of miles, we can test out material in a really cool way. Like.
Yeah, but it also shows you that. It's like when I was touring with Cable Guy and people are like, well, you can't do your material in front of him. They're not going to like that.
Yeah.
But it's exactly what he said to me. Funny is funny.
Right.
Funny is funny. So if you're funny.
Eventually trump it all, yeah.
At the end of the day, right? Because what you're saying is right. You're talking to people who.
Not only at the end of the day, even in the middle of the week.
In the beginning of the day, too. The beginning of the day, it's funny. But those, like the young kids, sometimes. Though I get most nervous in front of that crowd.
I like it, I know what references.
Yeah, but I want to scream, show me your tits, and that's not the right thing to.
No, especially.
It's not the right thing to scream.
You're married, right?
I'm married, right? Which is really bad.
Yeah.
Is that bad if I scream when I walk in my house tonight? If I just. If I open the door, show me your tits!
Speaking of being married, Dana Gould?
Yes.
Okay, so Dana's on one night, and I was hosting. You got to come in and do the show sometime, and I'm not saying that like, you got to stop by. You get on my show. It's like called Breaking Balls with Dom Irrera.
I love it.
Yeah, come in, you do 7 or 8 minutes, then we talk just like this.
Okay.
And Dana was on, and I was up here, and there's 2 lesbians that really were having a good time. I mean, they say the reason I said they look like lesbians, they just had that look, not like lipstick lesbians, like real lesbians.
Subaru lesbians.
Yeah, and I said to them, I said, you know what? I saw this one lesbian thing. It's called Mother and Daughter Exchange Club. I said it was the most perverted thing I've ever seen. You see, mothers would bring their daughters over to another mother, and they would make out. You know? Yeah. I mean, it's, obviously not true, but that, they have this whole, this is all fictitious and all this shit. And I said, I did it on stage, and people were kind of laughing, but also kind of amazed. And I go sit down next to Dana, and I said, you probably never heard of it. He goes, Dom, I've been married for 12 years. I know every one of those fucking episodes. I've seen them all. He goes, are you kidding me? I thought it was so fucking funny.
I got to tell you, I heard all that stuff about how you're never going to have sex again after you get married and all that stuff. It is just not the case at my house.
But if you're faithful, and if you don't jerk off a lot.
But I do jerk off.
And you still have sex a lot?
Yeah, but I don't jerk off at the house. I only jerk off when I'm on the road.
You sure you're Jewish?
Are Jewish people not supposed to jerk off in hotels?
I'm kidding.
I didn't know if that was one of our things. We don't jerk off in hotels. I did. I will say that sometimes I catch myself where I walk into a hotel, and I have to make a concerted effort to make sure jerking off isn't the first thing that I do, because I'm like, man, I feel bad. I mean, what kind of animal am I where I walk in and I have to jerk off first? So I try I try to lie to myself. Like, no, you're not an animal. Order some food, watch a TV show, then jerk off. But in the back of my mind, all I'm thinking is, I can't wait to jerk off in this hotel room.
You're unfolding your day. I was thinking of a joke for, you know how you can get porn on DirecTV?
Very well.
And calling up and telling her you're having a problem getting, ladies licking pink. Ladies licking pink butts or something, and she has to repeat it to you. That's like a way of talking dirty without you can't get.
Can
in
you
trouble.
say it that way? You could jerk off. Can you say it again?
Yeah.
What's on channel 192 right now? Can you say that? I can't read that. What is on there? Can you?
Ladies who lick deep pink. 8.
My son, right? My wife and I went on a little vacation.
What a segue! What kind of a segue was that for?
This is good. I'll tell you why. Because my wife and I went away. My parents were in town, so they were staying. And we come back, and my parents go away. So I get my my DirecTV bill, and there's $189 worth of porn. And I look at the dates.
Did your wife see this?
Yes. I look at the dates, and I go, oh, this is when we were away. So I walk into my son's room, and I go, hey, man.
It was your son.
I go, did you order porn when we were out of town? And he was like, no. I go, you didn't? And I listed off the titles. And he was like, no, that's really uncomfortable. Do we have to talk about this? I go, yeah, because here's the deal. We weren't here. So it was either you
or somebody broke into the house.
I said,
didn't steal a thing.
No, it's like it was either you or Grandpa.
Right.
So if you're telling me it's not you, and I believe everything you say because you're my son, you and I are going to call Grandpa right now and ask him why
he was stroking it.
Yeah. And he was calling my bluff. He goes, well, you should probably call Grandpa. I go, okay. And I pick up my phone. And I go, you ready? Let's put him on speaker. And he goes, okay. And I dial it. I go, hey, Dad. And he goes, hey. And I'm here with Jacob. And he goes, hey, Jacob. And he goes, hey, Grandpa. I go, Dad, I got to ask you a question. When I was out of town, and I'm giving pauses so I can give
him an opening.
Yeah, to jump in. I go, when I was out of town, did you and Mom from my room order? And right when I said order, my son jumped in. He was like, oh, no, I found the piece of paper, Dad. I found it. I go, what? And he goes, you don't have to ask Grandpa. I found it. So he was like, give me the yeah. So I go, okay, forget it, Dad. I'll call you back. And I go, so are you admitting that you ordered the porn? And he goes, no, but it'll be embarrassing for Grandpa to have to admit it in front of us.
Oh.
He goes, so I'll pay for it. I'll pay for it.
He's a lawyer?
Yeah. But it's not the first time. Like
189, that's a good amount. It's
a lot of jerking off.
That's almost like monkey jerking off.
You remember when you were a teenager, you could jerk off nonstop.
Teenager? I did it today.
I told him, I said, listen, I probably shouldn't be telling you this, but it's $189. It's free on the internet. Free. YouPorn.com.
This is where I'm disappointed
free,
in you.
Yeah, that's why I told him. I go, listen, I jerk it, and he and I have a very open relationship. And to me, jerking off or watching porn, it is what it is. I was disappointed that he cost us money.
Well, I felt
As a Jew, that's what I was most disappointed in.
I had a talk with my godson about smoking pot, and he thought I was going to be against smoking pot. I don't smoke pot, but I'm totally think it should be legal, and I don't give a fuck. I was mad at him for getting caught.
Yeah.
I go, how fucking stupid can you be? He goes to Lafayette University, and everybody's gone for the Christmas holidays, and just him and a couple of friends. There's cops on campus. They have nothing to do but smell pot. You know?
Yeah.
And his mother, he smoked in his room in the morning. What did she think? She fucking, didn't go through the 70s? And, anyway.
I will tell you, that's the thing with my son, is I've told him this before. I'm not very strict. But if you wave it in front of my face, I have to bust you.
Yeah.
So there was one time I went to my freezer, and out of my freezer, I called him in, and I took my vodka out of my freezer. And I call him in, and I go, hey, Jakey. And he said, yeah. I said, let me ask you a couple questions. And he said, okay. I said, did you know that vodka doesn't freeze? And he said, I didn't know that. I said, yeah. Did you know that water does? And he said, I did know that. I said, really? Then why is my vodka frozen? And he goes, what? I go, it's a vodsicle, dude. It's a vodsicle. And I go, if you're going to be dumb enough to take booze from me, don't replace my vodka with water and put it back in the freezer. Like, that is just about the stupidest thing you could do.
That's very good detective work, though.
But it wasn't even, not that great detective. I know it doesn't freeze.
Yeah.
So when I was like, you have to be smarter. I don't want to bust you. I know what you're going to do. I did the same thing. But if you're going to, and I actually feel bad for these kids because, he's always talking about, what'd you do before the internet? Well, you poke people on Facebook. I was poking people in the back of my mom's car. Like, I had human interaction.
Right.
You're looking at tits online. I had them in my hands.
Yeah.
It's a whole different situation.
I had them in my hands. What a beautiful way to end the show. Josh Wolf, follow you on Twitter?
Yeah, Josh Wolf Comedy.
At Dom Irrera, Josh Wolf Comedy.
Josh Wolf Comedy, yeah.
A pleasure, man.
Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Do it again?
Absolutely, anytime.
Thank you. Josh Wolf, give him a hand. Get up. Thank you. See you next time.